Greetings, Fire Chargers, Darkblade here, and in this video I am going to be reacting to why were 18 years of Jesus' life erased. This video was made by Omnisent and it 4 days ago. By the way, R.I.P. Pope Francis. It currently has 170 views and 2 likes. Omnisent himself, or themselves, has 28 subscribers, 8 videos, and created their channel almost 4 years ago. Their channel description says, "Welcome to Omnisent, where ancient wisdom meets modern awakening. This is a space for the seekers, the wanderers, the quietly awakened. We explore spiritual pain and divine calling, inner transformation, and the subtle signs you're not alone, you're being led. Each video is a doorway to deeper understanding, sacred reflection, and connection with something greater. Whether you're deconstructing old beliefs or rediscovering your soul's belief, Omniscient exists to guide you beyond the visible into the realm where consciousness, spirit, and destiny meet. You're not just feeling more, you're being called. Omniscient. You sense it all for a reason." The oldest video on their channel is from earlier this week. Anyway, this video is titled, "Why Were 18 Years of Jesus' Life Erased?" And the thumbnail says, "Origins of the Wisdom of Jesus Christ. Egypt, India, and Tibet." And and there's the what's it called, description. Anyway, let's see. Does this video have any legitimacy? My bet is probably not. It's probably a hodgepodge of conspiracy theories. But time to get into this video because I've been talking for 2.5 minutes straight.
Greetings to you, seeker of knowledge and deeper reflection on one of the most intriguing themes in the history of Christianity.
Let me make sure my brightness is turned all the way up. Fortunately, that had nothing important.
Today, I invite you to embark on a journey that could transform the way you view the figure of Jesus.
Okay.
Prepare yourself, because we will reveal something that many people do not know and that may surprise even those who consider themselves students of the Bible. You are about to discover the so-called lost years of Jesus. This subject is surrounded by mystery, historical debates, texts set aside by the main Christian traditions, and a series of passages so curious that many doubt their existence. If you want to understand what happened to Jesus between the ages of 12 and 30, stay with me until the very end of this video, because I will read and explain striking excerpts that do not appear in the 4 Gospels accepted by the Church.
If they don't appear in the 4 Gospels, then they're probably just nonsense with no basis.
Show you why they are not in the Bible, where those texts came from, when they surfaced, and how they have shaped the spirituality of people through the centuries. I will also share surprising facts and point out benefits and drawbacks these accounts may have brought to society. Before we begin, I have a special invitation for you. Subscribe right now to the Omnisent channel. Here you will find thought-provoking benefits and drawbacks these accounts may have brought to society. Before we begin, I have a special invitation for you. Subscribe right now to...
So, whoever is writing this, what is it called, text, failed to even spell the name of their own channel right. Let me pause this, there's something else I want to do. I was just opening a page. It's open now.
Right now to the Omniscient channel.
Spelled your
Here you
own
will
username
find
wrong.
thought-provoking content about spirituality, religious history, and reflections that can illuminate your journey of faith or personal quest. On this channel, there are no taboo topics when it comes to knowledge. We love exploring subjects that are not always discussed in conventional spaces. So hit the subscribe button and join our community of wisdom seekers. Now let us get to the heart of the matter. If you have read the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you have surely noticed that their narratives about Jesus make a huge leap in time. First, we see the Nativity and a few episodes from his childhood, such as the visit to the Jerusalem temple when he was 12 years old. And then the story jumps straight to adulthood when Jesus, at 30 years of age, begins his public ministry, preaches, performs miracles, calls disciples, and eventually reaches the crucifixion and the resurrection. Inside that timeline lies an 18-year stretch that is practically unknown, a period about which the Bible remains completely silent, telling us only that Jesus grew in wisdom, stature, and favor with God and with people. Such a large gap has aroused the curiosity of both Christians and non-Christians. Why does the Bible not speak about those years? Could there be ancient writings that describe what Jesus did during that stage of his life? Did he travel to distant lands, study with teachers from different traditions, or work wonders never recorded by the four official Gospels? And if so, why
If they were never recorded by the four official Gospels, then there is no evidence that he worked them.
did the Church not accept those writings as part of the New Testament? To start answering these questions, we need to understand how the biblical canon was formed. During the first centuries of Christianity, there was no single bound Bible as we know it today. Christian communities scattered across various regions shared mainly oral tradition about the life of Jesus, in addition to some letters and writings. As time passed, numerous texts appeared gospels, epistles, and apocalypses each attributed to different authors. The early church had to evaluate which of those documents were authentic, consistent with apostolic teaching, and widely accepted by congregations throughout the Roman Empire. Out of that process emerged four Gospels that stood out: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They were recognized as canonical, meaning inspired by God and trustworthy in their testimony about Jesus. Yet many other writings surface Gospels describing the childhood and youth of Jesus, Gnostic texts offering alternative interpretations of Christianity, and more. A great number of them were late compositions, written
See that?
in the second century or even later, and presented ideas that diverged from what the church saw as orthodox. For
So far,
that
not
reason, they were
terrible.
left out of the New Testament, and in some cases were actively opposed as heretical. One especially eye-catching group is the set of childhood gospels: the infancy gospel of Thomas, the Arabic infancy gospel, and the gospel of Pseudo-Matthew. In these pages we find vivid stories about the boy Jesus, depicted as a child already wielding supernatural power, performing miracles sometimes with a rough edge. One tale says he cursed a boy who bumped into him, causing the boy to fall dead, then raised him back to life. In another scene, Jesus shaped clay sparrows and breathed life into them, showing dominion over creation even during childhood play. These accounts are fascinating, yet they do not appear in the official Bible. Why?
Because they're late forgeries.
A likely answer is that these texts arose in a later period, were not aligned with recognized apostolic
Good so
testimony,
far.
and presented a portrait of Jesus that did not fit his message of love and mercy. They also contain historical, chronological, and theological errors that indicate they did not come from reliable eyewitnesses. For example, many scholars date the infancy gospel of Thomas to the second or even the third century, a time when no one alive could have witnessed Jesus' youth. As such, these narratives are more legendary or devotional in character than historically solid. You might
Good.
ask, does
Surprisingly
that make
good
those
from
texts
this
completely
from this
false
setup.
or worthless?
Yes.
Not necessarily.
What?
Some researchers see in them a reflection of popular religiosity and attempts to grapple with the mystery of Jesus' humanity and divinity. They argue that behind the embellishments may lie very early oral memories later enhanced with supernatural elements. Even so, the early church aimed to preserve the coherence of the gospel in its essence. The identity of Jesus as the Son of God, his proclamation of the kingdom, his death, and his resurrection. Anything that endangered clear understanding of that message was sidelined. Thus, these books were labeled Apocrypha, meaning hidden and never entered the canon. Another
Good for admitting that they never entered the canon and weren't subtracted. So far, it's good. So far, it's been decent, but the erased part of the title is still misleading.
recurring question is whether Jesus might have traveled during those 18 years to places such as India or Egypt, learning from masters of other traditions like Buddhism or Hinduism. That idea gained momentum, especially after an author named Nicholas Notovich published a book called The Unknown Life of Jesus Christ in 1994. Notovich claimed to have found in a Himalayan monastery manuscripts about a wise man named Isa who came from the West to study there. According to his thesis, that sage was none other than Jesus, who then returned home with Eastern wisdom woven into his teaching. However, the monks of the supposed monastery denied any knowledge of such manuscripts, and most historians and academics consider Notovich's story fanciful and without documentary foundation. Although
Also, Jesus' original name in Hebrew or Aramaic was Yeshua, and in the Greek of that time period was something like Jesus. Indian languages of that time definitely had ways to approximate that in ways that are much closer to the actuals than something like Isa.
the vision of Jesus, monks of the supposed study there. The Unknown Life of Jesus Christ in 1994. Notovich claimed to have found in a Himalayan monastery manuscripts about a wise man named Isa who came from the West to.
Yeah, let me find some. Let me actually go to the wiki page on the Brahmic script and pause the screen recorder so it doesn't take too much of your time. This is the Brahmic script. It is, the Brahmi script. It was used in ancient India and is the ancestor of nearly every single writing system currently used in South and Southeast Asia. As you can see, there exists a yeah syllable. It's like this upside down ram hook shaped thing. Surprised that the vowel e has no length contrast, or o does. Then there's su or shu. One of these three is right. And mm, or mm. So yeah, the Brahmic script definitely has, and its descendants definitely have ways to phonetically approximate Yeshu or Yeshua that are more Jesus, Jesus or Yeshua that are more phonetically accurate than Isa.
In a Himalayan monastery manuscripts about a wise man named Isa who came from the West
And
to
so does
study there.
Arabic.
According to his thesis, that sage was none other than Jesus, who then returned home with Eastern wisdom woven into his teaching. However, the monks of the supposed monastery denied any knowledge of such manuscripts, and
By
most
the way, this is a
historians and
blind
academics
reaction,
consider
so I've never
Notovich's
seen
story
this video
fanciful
before,
and without documentary
or any
foundation.
other video from this
Although
channel.
the vision of Jesus in India appeals to some esoteric groups, there are no solid archaeological or literary proofs to back it.
Good so far.
Still, it remains a romantic hypothesis that if genuine, would explain similarities between certain sayings of Jesus and Eastern traditions. Yet the absence of concrete evidence keeps the matter speculative. On the other hand, some argue that Jesus may have had contact with the Essenes, a
That's not
Jewish
how to
sect
spell
known for
Essenes.
communal living, ritual purity, and a fervent expectation of a coming Messiah. Several scholars see that possibility as more credible, given that the Essenes lived near the Dead Sea and there are parallels between their
Yeah,
lifestyle
and
and the teachings of
his cousin John
Jesus.
the Baptist
But
may have
again, no
been one,
direct testimony
but I don't know.
verifies the connection, only deductions and doctrinal parallels suggested. Thus, the lost years of Jesus inspire many
How long
theories,
are we?
but remain wrapped in historical
About
uncertainty.
half the videos
What we
left.
can affirm is that the Bible does not document what he did during that span, limiting itself to the statement that he grew in wisdom, stature, and favor. That could imply a normal life in Nazareth, learning carpentry with Joseph, attending synagogue, and deepening his devotion. Alternatively, if some remarkable experience took place, it was not transmitted by the apostles or was not deemed essential to the gospel message. The biblical silence fuels speculations that often grow very creative.
And the
Let
original
us
is
now
still
examine
a
some of the
majority
most
of my
famous
runtime.
apocryphal scenes. One tells that the 5-year-old Jesus collected water in clay basins on a Sabbath day. When a neighbor complained, he ordered his clay birds to fly, and they took to the air alive. In another episode, a boy ran into him, and angered, Jesus pronounced a curse, causing the boy to die, then brought him back. Such depictions jar against the gentle image painted by the canonical Gospels. The Arabic infancy gospel portrays adventures during the flight to Egypt, where wild animals bow before the child, a palm tree bends to offer its fruit, and a spring of water bursts forth miraculously. Though copied and read in ancient monasteries and libraries, these texts were never acknowledged by the official church as inspired or historically reliable. As for their impact, on the positive side, they brought believers an emotionally closer Jesus, a child who played and felt frustration. On the negative side, scenes of a vindictive or capricious boy could scandalize and muddle the doctrine that Jesus was sinless. These writings also stirred conspiracy theories, suggesting the church deliberately hid embarrassing truths.
Correct, those
Yet
are
studying the
conspiracy
canon
theories.
formation shows the exclusions came mainly from late dates and doctrinal conflicts, not from a covert campaign to erase dubious episodes. Some theologians perceive in the 18 silent years a deep symbolism, a period of quiet preparation that reveals how God acts in ordinary life.
Five
It
and a
is
half minutes
inspiring
left.
to think that the divine can unfold in routine moments, shaping character until the right time for a mission arrives. Even without additional stories, the narrative of Jesus has transformed humanity. The apocryphal writings add layers of mystery and prompt historical discussion, but do not change the core of Christianity, centered on Jesus as the Son of God, his sacrificial death, and his redeeming resurrection. From here, we will delve even further, adding historical details and curiosities so you can see why some of these tales are so astonishing and how they spread. But to continue, remember to subscribe to Omnisent if you have not done so yet.
Again,
Your support helps us keep bringing content that few others address with such depth. Although we mentioned canon formation already, let us recall that it did not happen in a single council.
good.
The process unfolded over centuries as local churches traded letters and gospels and recognized authentic writings. One landmark was the Regional Council of Carthage, held in the year 397, which ratified the list of the 27 books that now form the New Testament. A crucial criterion was apostolic authorship or close association. Matthew and John were said to be direct disciples of Jesus. Mark, a companion of Peter. Luke, a companion of Paul. Gospels attributed to Thomas, Philip, or others that deviated doctrinally and were written long after the supposed authors had died were set aside. The infancy gospel of
Good
Thomas,
acknowledging
for
that they
instance,
were
tries to claim
pseudepigraphal.
apostolic authority, but its style and ideas reveal a second century community origin. Gnostic currents also influenced many apocryphal works, portraying Jesus as a bringer of secret knowledge for a select few, in contrast with the open proclamation seen in the canonical Gospels. Such differences triggered fierce debates, and the Church chose to hold to texts preserving Orthodox faith. Therefore, it was not about suppressing shocking truths, but about safeguarding authenticity. Although power struggles existed, reducing everything to a conspiracy oversimplifies the issue. The absence of official reports on the lost years stems from the belief that the vital core of faith lies in Jesus' public preaching, his miracles, his passion, and his resurrection.
About 3 minutes
Modern
left.
historical research on Jesus confirms that little can be stated about those years due to a lack of credible sources. The most plausible picture is of Jesus remaining in Nazareth, leading a straightforward Jewish life, studying scripture, practicing carpentry, and attending yearly festivals. Theories of far-ranging journeys lack proof and belong to collective imagination. Even so, apocryphal tales influenced popular devotion, medieval European art, and local traditions paintings of the flight to Egypt, with miracles, sermons, and dramas that included childhood scenes. For many illiterate believers, these stories made theological ideas tangible, though they occasionally distorted key aspects of Jesus' character. Regarding social
Yeah.
legacy, on one hand, such tales drew people to a more relatable Jesus. On the other, they fostered conflicting portrayals and unfounded theories that continue to entice certain esoteric circles. Movies, novels, and documentaries exploit the thrill of hidden mysteries, yet often ignore historical rigor, fueling a sense that the Church buried the truth.
This is
Nonetheless,
surprisingly
the New
good,
Testament gives
given the
everything
title
necessary
and
to
setup.
grasp who Jesus is: his proclamation of the kingdom, his healings, his passion, and his triumph over death. The 18 silent years do not weaken the foundation of faith. For academic history, the gaps invite ongoing research. For believers, they emphasize that God can act powerfully in quiet anonymity. If you have come this far, let me invite you again. Subscribe to Omnisent and share this reflection with others interested in the topic. Let us know in the comments which theory about Jesus' lost years you find more plausible. Do you think he stayed in Nazareth living a simple life? Or do you consider it possible that he traveled to distant lands, learning from exotic teachers? Let us keep the conversation respectful and open. I deeply appreciate your presence and hope this content encourages you to explore even more. Activate the notification bell so you do not miss future uploads on Omnisent. We plan to bring many more
Better.
fascinating subjects: biblical history, apocryphal texts, religious traditions, and mysteries that surround spirituality across different cultures. Stay with us and let us seek together to illuminate both mind and heart, pursuing wisdom and understanding. May peace and light accompany you always on your path.
Oh, that is all for this video. I'm surprised at how relatively good it was. It said the right things, that these texts that claim Jesus went to like this far off place are late and unreliable and written by people who falsely claimed certain to have been other people. So basically like clickbaity titles or attributions. I think that is good that this video included that. Anyway, make sure to like and subscribe to me and to Omnisent if you plan on doing that. And that is all for the video. Goodbye, Fire Chargers. Dark Blade out.